It's another week of Paulie and Cara drama. Mix in a sprinkle of Amanda and Zach drama. It's another week on the challenge, in the challenge house, Sheldon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It was an interesting episode of the challenge. Challenge continues to not disappoint, even though this might not have been as fireworky. That's not a word, I know. But that might not have been, as crazy of an episode as the past four. It was still a pretty solid episode. A lot of the strategy is starting to kick in now, right? Because I felt like watching this episode, I was just thinking more so down the line in terms of how this game might play out and also how it should play out. Because I feel like there were some mistakes made. But that's a tease. We'll get to that.
Let's introduce ourselves. I'm John Shidley-Hill.
And as always, my name is Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge, talking about War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds.
It's going to come out as we talk this morning about last night's episode. But as things unfold, I'm going to give you a lot of credit because a lot of things that you called have been coming to pass.
Really?
But
I might have forgotten about some of these things, so...
No, I will give you due credit when the time comes.
Okay.
But let's start with where we left off last week. Again, and I know you and I love this, but it's another classic episode with, pick up right where we left off last week. Mm-hmm. A little house drama, a little more politic-y this time. You have a competition, you have the tribunal and discussion, you have the elimination, you see the elimination done to the end. We've started off from last week where Kyle and Maddie live to see another day, and now they have the relic, so they're safe this week. Cara, Maria, and Paulie are back in the house. Mm-hmm. And they are frustrated. They're commiserating with each other. They are being gross, weirdo goths and quoting the Joker to each other.
Yeah, I'm so over them. I could
oh my
so
God.
over them. So tiring. But here's where I think, the personal side of everything is going to catch up to them, and it's going to be outstanding because they messed up in this season. They're so focused on Kyle, and if you were focused on getting out Kyle, cool. But the way to get out Kyle isn't to center your focus on Zach. That's where they mess up. But anyways.
I mean, they messed up in other ways. But we do have to make a little notes. We start to see Turbo's sensitive side.
Yes.
He's upset that his buddy, his Bohemian Rhapsody, the Sheldon to his John, JP, is gone. And he's explaining to Nani that he worries about frustrating her with all of his questions about how the game is played.
Yes.
And also, we learn that Turbo likes to call her Mom. Now, I have to tell you, when the season started, that I had the impression that they were going to have a sort of weird, unrequited romance where, he is, follows her around like a puppy and is, protective in a sort of misogynistic way.
Really? Okay.
But that's not how it's playing out at all. He really does sort of see her as a mother figure, which is weird because I think that Turbo's 55 years old. So
that is true. Who is older, Turbo or Nani? That is
it's gotta
very
be
interesting.
Turbo.
We assume that, but I feel like it's kind of awkward for you to call someone younger than you Mom. No?
Yeah, it's pretty Freudian. He's working out some issues.
But it's Turbo, so who knows, really?
It's Turbo. I love Turbo more and more as each week passes.
He might be the most interesting man in the challenge.
He might be the most interesting man in the world.
Fair. That's fair.
He even looks like a younger version of the Dos Equis guy.
Yeah.
Dos Equis. My Spanish is terrible.
But yeah, they have their little moment, and it's kind of showing I think that that's a team that's going to be around for a while because you're seeing them bond, but also it was a good example of a team that's working really well as opposed to teams that aren't working well, which you saw in this challenge, right?
Oh, you saw quite a few teams, one in particular, but quite a few teams struggling.
Yeah, and it was an endurance challenge, and they called it Tired Out, but emphasis on tire. I see what you did there. Challenge. I'm on to your games. But they're 200 color-coded tires. You're chained to your partner. You have to run across the desert, get to the tires, but you have to run up one of the dunes to see a puzzle, to see the order in which the color-coded tires would go in. Then you have to race back across and build your little tire castle, for lack of a better term. And this looks hard, but it's all about endurance and it's all about teamwork. And away,
patience.
Yes, but right away I'm going to give a lot of credit to Maddie because so obviously her and Kyle, by winning, they're safe in this challenge, right? So you're trying, you're giving an effort, you're probably just here for the sweat, here for the run, the workout. But she said she was going to spend a lot more time looking at the other teams in kind of a scouting mission. And I thought that was really, really smart. I thought that was a great thing to do because there's so many, especially for her, there's so many people that you might know in different instances in a party scene, or, you know, you get told that this challenge competitor is really good, but now you're actually getting to see them. And for her to have the foresight to say, hey, how can I benefit from this challenge where it doesn't really matter to me? How can I make it matter? That was a good call by Maddie.
It was a great call by Maddie. Very smart of her. Very smart. I noted that down too. There were some... If Maddie was paying attention, there were some things she would notice.
Okay.
First of all, Paulie, before the competition starts, he calls Cara over to give him a fucking kiss.
Yeah.
Which I hope is just a kiss and nothing more. And Cara, in confessional, says that the only thing she can trust on this season is Paulie.
Dun, dun, dun.
Never mind that he's sliding into Danielle's DMs on the reg. The other thing is that Bear says, and like, I don't normally do this, I backed up, I rewound my PVR to make sure I heard what Bear said correctly.
Yes.
Because his accent's a little tough, and what he said was so stupid, and I don't think he even understood how offensive it was. But he said he wants to take the chain home and tie Davon up with it.
Yep.
And she, like, when he started to speak, she was, like, smiling and sort of, like, looking down at her feet and being like, oh, I'm going to let Bear say his thing. And then she suddenly was like, what? What are you saying? And he's like, aren't you horny? And she's like, no, what? What?
Yeah, it was super weird. Sorry, go on.
I have to say something here, though. This is John speaking. So I've sometimes told that people can't tell our voices apart, Sheldon. So this is John, the white guy, speaking to other white people who are listening to this podcast. I can't stress this enough. Don't make jokes about tying black people up with chains. Like, not a good look. And also, then don't make it sexual when that person is a woman. Like, it's not a great look.
Yeah.
At all. Like, there's no circumstance in which that's acceptable. And I know some people might be saying, like, oh, Leroy made a joke about being, like, chained up and looking like a prisoner. It's different when Leroy, a black man, is saying about him and his black partner, Shailene. Like, it's a really bad look. And Bear, I mean, we're going to talk about fucking Bear all day today.
Yeah.
But, like, as soon as he said that, I'm like, did he just, like, does he not understand what he just said? Like,
I think
is he dumb or just, like, racist? I don't know.
I think that there's a lot of layers here. I think he's obviously, this was set up perfectly in terms of, if I'm thinking of this as a producer putting together an episode, it's set up perfectly because it teed up kind of the theme or Bear's theme in this entire episode, right? So it's set up perfectly in that sense. But I also feel like, you know, the whole "this is how we do in London" or Essex or wherever the hell they're from.
Yep.
I feel like there's a lot of different layers of just cultural differences. And I'm not saying that something's right or wrong. I'm just saying that he thinks he's being like super funny and like, ha 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 ha. And it was kind of just like, nah, bro, like that doesn't,
no.
Like, this is not a thing. So first off, he's trying to make a joke with his partner that he's not really that cool with to begin with. As you mentioned, he crossed multiple lines. Like, you know, the Chappelle joke, he's a habitual line stepper. Like he just...
Yes.
Wait, is that even a Chappelle show joke? Where's that from? Habitual line stepper. What's that from?
Anyways, it's Chappelle. It's Chappelle, I think.
I can't even remember. That's terrible on my part. But anyways, my point is he just tap danced all over multiple lines. And I don't understand his shtick. Like, I feel like he's trying to get one-liners to make it into the episode. Cool. He's trying to be, you know, he's trying to star, let's say, in these episodes. But this is a serious challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at a certain point, you got to put the antics, the showmanship down and just kind of get to the actual game. And I think this is what makes a challenge my favorite reality show, because on every other show, whatever it is, you can just be there for the showmanship stuff and that might work for you. But in the challenge, there's a whole other layer. So like you can have this stupid antic stuff that Bear has and it's not really gonna mean shit. And it didn't mean shit in this because at the end of the day, it was about how well he worked with his partner, and that comment set up for how poorly he was about to work with his partner.
Oh my God.
Right?
They really struggled. We should note, not the only American-British pairing that struggled. Because Hunter really struggled, and Georgia was visibly frustrated. Yeah. And to Hunter's credit, he was like, I get why she's frustrated. Like, I'm being frustrated right now. Like, at least with he has the maturity. I can't believe I just said Hunter has maturity. But he has the maturity to be like, no, I'm not good at this sort of thing. I'm bad at cardio.
Yeah.
I get it. So she should be frustrated.
The thing, too, which we'll get into with Bear, and there's a bit of it from Hunter here as well, is it's one thing to be upset. It's one thing to be frustrated. But there's another side of it to where you need to talk to people, period, but especially women, with some level of respect. And, you know, the screaming back is kind of super uncomfortable. The aggression shown towards him is kind of uncomfortable, especially in this situation. Because, you know, Davon telling Bear that she just needs to rest, and he's not trying to push her in a positive way at all. He's just, like, yelling at her, and then eventually just snaps. But before we get to that, though, the Hunter side, because I feel like we'll spend some time on what Bear ends up doing, but the Hunter side of it, I understand that he's upset that she's questioning his effort. Like, I get why he would be upset about that. There's no reason for you to yell, right? And get mad at her because, again, she's in the right here. You're messing up. She's trying to push you. She's trying to, you know, motivate you to get it going so that they can win, so that you can win this challenge. And you're just kind of like moping around. I would question your effort in the moment too. Like, you have to be able to understand why she would have that thought. She doesn't know you. She doesn't know that you're not good at endurance. But so that's Hunter. Hunter was messed up in this. But I think we should get to Bear. What happened to Bear and Davon?
So, Bear and Davon, I mean, I can't put words into Davon's mouth, but I do think that comment he made about the chains probably put her in a negative headspace. I'm just going to go ahead and assume. And early on, he's really trying to push the pace.
Yeah. And
go fast. And she's not having it. She can't go that fast. She doesn't want to go that fast. And she has since admitted on Twitter that at one point her hand is stuck under a tire. She's admitted on Twitter now that she was faking it because she was just trying to buy herself time to catch her breath. But he's really haranguing her the entire time, telling her to hurry up, and basically screaming, "We're losing!" And I don't know that they weren't winning, But they weren't like a total fucking disaster. Yeah. And he ends up getting so frustrated with her that he undoes his chain and goes and just like sits down. He quits. Which, first of all, we all know how quitting goes over with TJ Lavin. And then, to her credit, Davon keeps going on without him because the tires that you get toward the end, like at the top of your tower, are much smaller. So she just soldiers on without him, which wins her a ton of points with all the other competitors who are like, good for Davon, like still in there by herself.
Yeah.
And then things get even weirder because they obviously like finish the competition. We will say Ninja and Paulie win. Nanny and Turbo are second. Cara and Theo are third. We'll get back to all that in a second. But it's clear that, like, as one of the quirks of filming, and you can back me up on this, it seemed to me like in the span between people coming back from being far away at the dune and probably having water and like just taking a break while the crew sets up the next shot where TJ like tells them who won, Bear starts pacing back and forth, sort of screaming about how he doesn't like losing, about how none of these people are good enough to beat him, even though they clearly just beat him.
Yes.
And Josh is, I think, the first one to say, like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Like,
but also, like, too, you don't like talking. Losing, so you quit. Because that makes sense.
Yeah, and Davon and Cam is consoling Davon.
Yeah. Does anyone...
So,
do you remember the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, and they had the brawl at one point, and Kareem Garcia was talking shit about Pedro Martinez, and Pedro has that famous interview where they ask him about it, and he's just like, who is Kareem Garcia? That was my thought here. Who is Bear? Right? Like, seriously, who is Bear that he's the one that's like, oh, these bums, and they're not good enough to tie my shoes, and I don't like losing to these people because they all suck, and like, who is this guy? Where did he come from to command that type of respect or that type of, cockiness or arrogance that he thinks that he's just automatically better than all of these people, and that Davon is holding him back so much, and that's why he's losing and he's not winning every single week. Like, I was just like, dude, you're not and I was going to say an Olympian, but there's an actual Olympian on the show. So that kind of lessened the point I was trying to make. But it's like, do you know what I'm saying? You're not LeBron. You're not MJ. You're not Gretzky. Like, you haven't won shit. Who are you? It was just so frustrating to me because this guy is just super annoying. He's a terrible partner. And then you have the audacity to just like be such a sore loser after you quit. Now, I'm not saying it justifies it, but at least if you finished or kept competing and then you complained, at least then a little bit I could be like, well, you gave it your all. You tried to motivate your partner, but your partner just didn't have it in this challenge. I can understand why you're mad. But you quit and then put on that act? Get out of here.
Yeah, and like, who's to say what would have happened if he had stuck it out?
Who knows? Who knows? Right? It's an endurance challenge. One of the other teams that was doing really well, they could have tired out. One of their partners could have gassed out. Maybe one of the teams has the order wrong in terms of putting the tires in order. You have no idea. It's just quitting is just so dumb.
And that's why you don't quit, because you don't know. Like, I mean, it's just a bigger deal in Canada, but there's that famous Australia's first gold medal at a Winter Olympics was because this Aussie was like well back in fourth in short track speed skating, and everyone crashed in front of him, and he just skated between them, and that's how he won gold. Yes. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You just got to see it out to the end.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And also, I mean, tell me what you think. I don't think that Bear and Davon would have been nominated if it wasn't for this performance.
Well, that's what we always talk about. Don't put a target on your back. You just gave people a reason by putting on this show. You wouldn't have even been on people's radar.
Yeah. Like, I don't think they were in danger. Like, it's not like a Josh and Amanda where people are pissed, or a Zach and Zahida or you know what I mean? Like, I think that they were flying under the radar up until this point.
Well, further to your point, what did Josh and Amanda do in this challenge to not be nominated again? Nothing. They just shut up.
Right? They just shut up.
They shut up, and automatically they weren't nominated. Sometimes it seems so simple, no?
Yes. And this is, I think that one of the things I wanted to give you credit for, because you had said ages ago, maybe in the first episode, that you thought that Amanda and Josh might go far because people will just like let them coast as long as they can keep their mouths shut. Yeah. And Zach later on even says she has no allies, so like there's no point in going after her.
Yep, totally true.
And you were the one who said it, so I want to give you credit. That was a Sheldon Alexander original.
I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. And so Bear freaks out, and TJ, of course, calls him out when they're all like queuing up and he's talking about who won. Mm-hmm. He goes so far as to call him by his full name, Stephen Bear. And like he kind of like gives Hunter the gears about like not like giving it his all. And we should say Hunter and Georgia argued a little bit. Like they did, and Wes called him grasshopper and said, "Never argue with your partner. She's always right. Like, just it's not worth it."
Hey, and you got to be honest. That's great advice from Wes, because like what?
Oh, it's great advice.
If you look at Zach, I know the success wasn't there for Zach this season, but I feel like he had a better season partner wise. No.
Yeah.
So hey,
yeah, absolutely.
The lesson here, kids, don't argue with your partner.
No. So I guess we can just skip ahead to the winning teams, the tribunal, making their decisions. And Olympic Theo is in a tough spot, because it's to the point now where just by process of elimination, there are teams... Virtually all the teams now have a Brit on them.
It's very much so, yeah.
And he feels like he's in an alliance with all the Brits. And not only can you not, is that not really viable? Like, you can't not end up putting up a Brit at some point. But not all the Brits actually are in an alliance. Like, just because you have the same accent doesn't mean that you're fucking with each other, right?
Totally true.
So we've got, it starts off with Ninja Natalie speaking up and saying that after Bear's display, she wants to put him up. Or sorry, no, it's Nani and Turbo that want to put up Bear, and unfortunately, along with him, Davon. Paulie and Ninja want, and Cara and Theo want Zach and Zahida. Who was it? Paulie and Ninja had mentioned someone else that they wanted to put up that had a Brit attached.
I don't remember who that was. I just remember Paulie just going directly at, like, he just wanted to go directly at Zach, no?
Yes. But they were talking about another team that had another Brit in it, and then by way of compromise with her partner, Cara suggested that Jenna and Gus also go up, so that it's not a Brit on every team going up.
Yes. I don't remember who that was, but yeah.
That's who ends up going up. Zahida and Zach, Bear and Davon, Jenna and Gus. And to your point, Amanda dodges a bullet. Yeah. Right? Like, Amanda and Josh live to fight another day.
Just cause.
Well, just because, as you, again, rightly pointed out off the top of the episode, that Cara and Paulie have such blinders on for Kyle that they're making poor strategic decisions. Like, do you want to get rid of Kyle or do you want to win the season?
Because here's what it's really going to come down to. As much as Zach realized, hey, Amanda and Josh don't have anybody, you got to start looking at the numbers and realizing that the Brits, once they realize and they're going to firm up, like, who's on Paulie and Cara's side? Right? Like, when, like, that's the real alliance. Or as Zach pointed out, Zach almost made it seem like it was two different games, but I think Zach realized it's who's working with Cara and Paulie and who isn't, because Zach was trying to formulate his side with the Brits, which we'll get to later on. But to me, that's where, you know, if you're Paulie and Cara, that should have been your focal point there, because at the end of the day, Cara's partner is Theo, but really Theo is outnumbered between, if you're just talking about Cara, Theo, and then Paulie and his partner Ninja, like, in terms of who's the Brits in that crew, there's only one of you, so you're outnumbered.
Yep.
So the Brits have more people in the house. So unless you think Theo is able to ride for you and carry you guys all the way through and convince the rest of them to leave you alone, which doesn't make any sense at all, because again, that's 3 out of 4 people in your crew. How does it make sense that you're going to put all your focus into getting Kyle's people out of the house? It makes no sense. You should want to keep Zach around, at least for now, to, like, get the numbers more on your side.
And so, I mean, maybe now is the time to talk about the Cara Paulie dynamic, which unfortunately we spoke about at length last week. But I think part of what's going on, like, something that I want to add to last week's comments, where I talked about how, like, Paulie, I think, is showing out because he has a guilty conscience because he knows he has Danielle back at home. Mm-hmm. But I also think that part of what's going on is, deep down, Cara can sense that something is off with their relationship.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I just refuse to put that much energy into trying to think about what Cara and Paulie are thinking, because they're just, I'm so over them. Like, I don't even really care.
I'm over them too.
I'm enjoying watching them mess up their gameplay.
Yes, I'm enjoying that too. And, like, I'm convinced that they're not going to win this season. Like, they're on such a, like, destructive course that, to me, it's going to cost them. And I like that. But it's just interesting to me that, like, I think when you're in a situation like she was, and, like, she and Paulie are back together, I think that you can't, like, on some levels, she knows that something's not quite right with her and Paulie, and that's why she's so sensitive about criticism. Because, like, if you're really, truly happy and confident in your relationship, you're not stressing what people are saying when you're not in the room. You know what I mean? Like, it just roll off your back. But she is, like, obsessed. And on that note, we get to the tribunal, which I'm really liking these tribunal, like, judging scenes. I did not like them at first, but they are great television, and, like, this is where shit goes down. Yeah. I love Zach's how he's handling himself in these tribunals too. Like, I think he's killing it in those confines, because he's like, I've got nothing to say. Can I go now? Like,
yeah, he's trying to, like, he knows that what they're trying to do is just bait him into an argument, trying to make him look bad. So he knows that less is more. But I want to give Jenna some credit here, because she tries to come in and says, yes, me and Zach are in a relationship, but we are playing different games, right? And that was basically her point. She's in and out. Cool. Cara and Zach, they have it out. And I don't really get it, right? Because Cara's whole thing is that Zach makes Jenna cry every night, and she's heard all the stuff that Zach has said to Kyle about her. And I can't believe I'm defending Zach this much, but Zach actually says, well, Cara, that's just my opinion, and it's not just about you. And he kind of, like, gives a weird look, as if he's looking And I'm assuming here, but like the angle that it's created, like it's like he's looking at Paulie. So to me, there's kind of a level here where I'm thinking he's like, I totally understand what he's saying, right? Like, Cara, the fact that he's siding with Kyle has more so to do with the fact that he's had your back throughout all of these seasons, and now you're with Paulie, who everyone will agree is pretty much a tool, right? He's done very little to prove otherwise. And so Zach is saying, hey, it's just my opinion. Like, I'm telling Kyle that I think that you're doing all of this to throw it in Kyle's face. And I don't disagree with him at all. Like, I feel like Zach totally came out on top in that little back and forth. That Cara's trying to hit him with all these things like, I heard you say all this stuff about me. And he's just like, yeah, that's fine. That's just my opinion. Right? Like, it's like it didn't work. Her big like reveal that she thought she was gonna get, he's kind of like, well, yeah, no, that's just my opinion, and it's not about you.
Yeah. Well, I also think that if Zach really does have fondness for Cara as a friend, he'd also kind of be like, man, this Paulie relationship is fucked.
Because it
right?
is.
Like, and we've all been there. We've all been there when you have a friend and they start dating someone and, like, you try to bite your tongue, but their new significant other fucking sucks. Right?
Yep.
And I liked what Zach said, where he's like, yeah, well, that's my opinion. Like, I don't like your relationship.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I enjoyed it. And then eventually he's just like, yep, can I go now? And then just leaves, which I thought was very funny. And then we get to the main event, because Bear comes in. And Ninja very calmly says to him, honestly, that was the most disgusting act of poor sportsmanship that I've ever seen in my life. And Bear's response is, and so is your dress. Which doesn't really make much sense. Like, I see where you were trying to go with the joke, but it didn't really make much sense. But okay, whatever. Cool. He then continues to say, you're just lucky that your partner is Paulie. Which, again, doesn't really make much sense, because anybody who has been paying attention this season, you might argue that Ninja's been the more valuable partner than Paulie on this team. And in fact, it's Paulie's drama that is probably causing the most negative issues surrounding their team. So that's just wrong, right? We can agree. We can agree there.
Yes, yeah. But everything you're saying is the golden truth.
But then Bear's rant continues, and he continues to tell Nany to stop flirting with him, which I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I know, hey, Nany's quote unquote in these streets at times, but I didn't realize that was a thing, that he's just calling her out for flirting with him, which I found very weird. And I'll say this much, okay? I wrote this down because I wanted to get this point across in the most polite way as possible. So follow me here for a second, okay, John?
Okay. All right, I'm with you.
Now, I don't know Bear very well, okay? Don't know him very well at all. Okay? So I'm not going to call him a sexist, chauvinistic pig. But I think that he definitely exhibits the behavior of a sexist, male, chauvinistic pig, just straight up demeaning women in this entire episode. And even just the way this back and forth went, before they went to commercial break, I wrote that down. They came back from commercial break, and he just continued. And this was when I actually sided with Cara for a bit here, because Ninja's trying to talk to him. He talks over her. Theo tries to calm him down, and it kind of works. And then Cara says, wait, how come you listen to Theo, but you talk over Natalie? And then Bear hears this and says, hey, Turbo, you make a lot of sense. What do you think? It's like, bruh, how are you not paying attention to what's happening here? Like, it just seemed so obvious to me that I was like, this guy's just a huge douche.
Well, he's a douche canoe. But the point, like, when he said, Turbo, you talk a lot of sense. First of all, I love Turbo. He does not talk a lot of sense. Right? Like, of the 6 people looking down on you at that moment, Turbo though, and like, I'm not even saying this to make fun of the fact that English is not his first language, because hell, I don't speak Turkish, but like, he is a very esoteric thinker.
Yeah, even when he does say things and I can understand, like I can make out the words that he's saying, they still don't make sense.
But also, Bear is all but saying like, Turbo, you're a man, talk some sense into these women. Like, that was the thrust of his comment, right? Was that much. like, please, let's shush these women folk. Yeah. Their opinions are invalid. We men folk, let's go have cigars and talk in the parlor after dinner while they clean up our dinner. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, and what's, to her credit, the person that I thought came out the best in all of this was Ninja Natalie. Mm-hmm. Because she did not lose her temper. She, like, I mean, maybe Bear definitely did not get the point. But Ninja Natalie, I think, articulated herself well, did not lose her temper, like, got across what she was trying to say to him about his behavior. And, like, if you're in an argument and the other person's screaming and you're maintaining your cool, you almost win by default. What really helped Ninja Natalie, though, and Cara and Nani in their argument with Bear, was that Cara said, you know, like, you could do, like, burpees or cartwheels outside. I don't even remember why she said that.
Yeah, I don't
know. Bear went to do a cartwheel, and it was literally the worst cartwheel I've ever seen. And, like, imagine for a minute being like, Ninja Natalie, Cara Maria, Nani, you're an idiot. You guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Let me prove my point about how much better I am than you, American Ninja Warrior winner Natalie, by doing a shitty cartwheel. Like, imagine thinking that the way to flex on Ninja Natalie is to do a bad cartwheel. Like, can you imagine the thought process?
I don't know, man. We talk about it all the time in terms of reality TV shows and how you grade it and you grade the characters on it about, would you want to have a beer with this person? Would you want to hang out with this person? Under no circumstances would I ever want to hang out with Bear in my life.
No.
Like, just not not my cup of tea, I'll say.
Oh, because that's how we do in Toronto.
But he leaves, and he leaves Davon there, and Davon's alone, and she's kind of sad because, you know, everyone else is kind of looking down, and they're kind of sad as well. You see as she kind of breaks down, you kind of see Natalie as well kind of remove some tears from her eyes because they all realize that Davon's a good person, and they know her story. She's there trying to win money for her daughter, as we know, but also I give her credit because she wasn't there begging or trying to be like she understands the situation. And that probably is what brought on the real emotion of the tears. She understands the situation in terms of this guy's acting like a huge ass. So for her to even ask them to not put them in, it comes off it doesn't come off genuine at all either, right? So you could see, like, I don't think it was crocodile tears. Like, I think it was really just a sense where she is seeing the situation that she's in, and it's very, very much sad. When you realize that you have no control over the situation because your partner is just such an arrogant ass, right?
I actually had the impression that what she said to them, that, like, a partnership does not mean that he represents me. I think that was her saying, like, to people who she knows and some, like, I don't know who she's, like, super tight with in that tribunal, but I think what she was really saying was, like, hey, like, in real life, I do not approve of what this guy is saying. Like, I didn't even think she was really appealing for a vote, but just trying to underscore, like, this man does not represent me, and I hope you all know that. Like, when we are all speaking in the real world, I hope you know that I don't, like, endorse this guy at all. But, like, here I am.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I also have said this before, but I remember Davon from her multiple appearances on Big Brother. And it always amazes me how well she has, pardon the term here, because I don't want this to come off as phony, but how well she's developed as a character on reality TV. And I know that sounds super phony, but I don't mean it to be. But she was very much brash and in your face in her first appearance on Big Brother. And she really kind of reined it in while remaining true to herself, which is a difficult balance, right? Because you want to make sure that you remain yourself and you're true to yourself and you don't allow yourself to get punked off or whatever. But I hate using this reference because it's LeBron, so it seems kind of cheesy. But one of the things he keeps saying recently is progress over pride.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, right, it makes so much sense because there's so many things in all situations, but I'll apply it to this in particular, where in order for you to progress, you got to like put the pride aside a little bit and pick your battles, because she would blow up. She remained so calm through Bear freaking out even during the challenge, through Bear freaking out during the nominations, and she just remained, for the most part, calm and cool, but she didn't snap back on him. She didn't match his level of intensity with, because she could have given him the same shit talking right back, but didn't. And I think that older Davon that I saw in the first season that she was on Big Brother might have done that and just like blown up and fought with them. But instead, she's like, nah, that's not worth it. I don't need that energy.
And, as offended as Ninja and Cara and Nani are by Bear, and they all should be, the one that's really had to put up with this shit and been the focus of his sexist and racist behavior is Davon.
Yeah.
Like, she is the one that has had to put up the most with it and suffer the consequences for his behavior.
Yeah.
So, and all she did, he picked her too, right? Like, she didn't even pick him to be partners. It's the other way around. And she's just trapped with this douche.
Yeah, it's super odd. And it's funny to see the aggression kind of blow up a little, because even when we go back to the house, Zach is super salty, and he's saying,
he's fired up.
He is super fired up. So this is while the tribunal, is that what it's called? Or while the tribunal is going on, and he says Cara is only where she is because she's partners with an Olympian, which, I mean, I don't know how true that is, but okay, cool. I'll stick with you on your level of salt there, Zach. I'll give you some rope. So he continues to go back and forth, and he's saying he's had her back forever. But then things turns, and it turns super personal. And he says she's as fake as her hair is, and she's a worthless human being and is a pathetic loser who has no life.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
he also said
personal
her
attacks.
Boyfriend.
Well, personal attacks.
I guess more personal.
Right? Personal attacks. And then Amanda jumps in because Amanda is sitting in the cut, and she's happy because now her two enemies are enemies with each other as well. And her and Zach are bonding over their hate over Cara. Wow. But Zach didn't stop there, right?
Mm-hmm. No, he went on to say her boyfriend is fucking her for Instagram likes, and she closes her eyes and thinks of, and then he points at Kyle.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun,
that, I mean, part of the problem, though, like, there's no excusing what Zach's saying here, because it's down and dirty. Like, it's, as you said, it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
She got personal in the tribunal, though, right? Like, she took a run at his relationship with Jenna.
And she's been doing that, for sure.
And continues to after this scene. So, and like, when friends fight, they fight dirty. Again, not, like, signing off on what he has to say. Yeah. But he also, with the benefit of hindsight that you and I have, he raises some good points about Paulie and Cara's relationship. And, like I said earlier in this episode, I have a little more sympathy because, like, you have a friend, they start dating someone shitty, he can't help but, like, try to be patient, and then, like, after a while, you get mad at seeing what they're doing to your friend, right? So, like, I think that part of Zach's anger I mean, I think the issue isn't that Zach dislikes Cara, although he's frustrated with her. I think it's that Zach dislikes Paulie and what Paulie is doing to Cara. And again, the Danielle stuff hadn't come forward yet, but like, I don't know. I think that you can smell when something's rotten in a relationship, like something's not quite landing right.
Yeah.
Whether you're in the relationship or outside of it, where you're just like, this isn't quite right. Like, there's something off here. And, like, maybe Zach can't put his finger on it, but, like, he knew Cara well before this happened, before they started dating. And, like, he would have, he'd be in a position to see a change in her. Right? And also, to be real, like, obviously Zach and Kyle, like, are buds and are hitting it off. But the way that Cara and Paulie are so zeroed in on Kyle, it's off-putting, I think, for everyone.
For sure. And it's also a detriment to their game, right?
Yeah.
Which is the other thing here that I can't emphasize enough, because it's just like I guess it leads into a conversation that happens just after this scene with Zahida and Maddie, where they're sitting out there and they're kind of discussing the fact of they're both in the same position where their partners are creating all this drama for them, and it's adding such another layer of just stank on their game. And Maddie does a good job of, hyping up Zahida, but also tells her to remember why you're actually here, and you're here for the money. So forget about all the drama, forget about all that dumb stuff, and just keep the money as a motivation. And I feel like Cara and Paulie should kind of take that advice as well, because they're not here for the money. They're here to settle personal scores. And that, my friend, is what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, because you got to realize the numbers, and you need Zach. Zach could be a vote on your team, right? If you're Cara, you have a prior relationship there. You're supposed to leverage that relationship for as long as you can. You should be trying to leverage the Kyle relationship for multiple reasons, because, Kyle took pity on her in the last round, right? Remember, Kyle could have voted them in, and he didn't.
Yep.
So you got to try to keep leveraging those relationships, because the Brits have the numbers. They're more of a collective unit than the challenge vets are. The challenge vets are too busy fighting with each other, which, if we give Johnny Bananas credit for anything, the years of Johnny Bananas' domination was the vets were always aligned in making sure they got the rookies out first. And that whole earn your stripes bit and all that, we're not seeing that here. And what we're seeing are the vets getting put out.
We also, then, they set up a poker game, and I didn't take down all the names of the people at the poker game, but it was more of a vet-heavy group. Like, Wes was up there, Davon was up there, Paulie, Cara, and they were all going to play poker, because they actually have a games room at this house. Outside, we've got Zahida, Kyle, Bear, and Amanda having drinks, having a cigarette, and Bear is ranting outside because he's pissed. He's still hot under the collar after that tribunal situation. I think in part because he knows he looked like a fucking idiot. Like, on some level, he knows.
Yeah.
And Kyle actually does something smart, and in an effort to protect Zach, tries to gas up Bear to make more of an ass of himself, to make the target on his back bigger, which I thought was smart. Like, I thought that was good gameplay by Kyle. Good manipulation.
I agree as well. Such a good idea. And because, to be honest, Bear's already on the ledge anyways. He just needed a little push.
He just needed a faint breeze.
So true. So true.
So
he runs upstairs, but what does he do? Like, why? Like, I don't know if the execution was as good as the plot or the scheme.
I think that what happened, you're right, but I think what happened was he got all gassed up by Kyle and alcohol.
And Amanda.
And Amanda, probably.
No, Amanda tweeted out that her and Kyle spent 20 minutes trying to gas him up to get him to go do that.
I love Amanda.
Yeah.
And so I think that he was just gassed up and was going to, like, run up there and make a big scene. And then, like, I think when he got to the top of the stairs, he improvised, you know, and was just, like, in his drunken mind was like, I'll jump on the table. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he set off with the intention of throwing his body onto the poker table. But yeah. I do think that, like, as he sprinted up, just as, like, he saw the scene in front of him, he was like, I know what a good idea is. I'm running so fast right now that I'll just jump onto this table. You know?
I don't know. It was such a dumb plan. I know we talk about who killed it in this episode all the time, but Bear definitely did not kill it. He was the LVP of this episode. Like, just... Definitely. What a loser.
So then we have a scene the next morning where the two teams that are really... Because, like, Jenna and Gus aren't really in danger here. But they have two scenes where Davon and Bear are talking about, like, basically, hey, we're probably going up, so who do you want to call out? And Zach and Zahida are having the same conversation. And Zach and Zahida have a problem because they don't really see eye to eye on who to go against, right? Like, Zach says, we might as well call out Bear and Davon because I think we can beat them in virtually anything. Mm-hmm. And also, everyone's pissed at them anyway. So, like, we'll come back, not conquering heroes, but, like, people aren't, like, we're not going to piss off more people, which I think makes sense. He also says that he doesn't want to call out Amanda and Josh for what we've already said, and that is he recognizes that they have no allies. So, like, that's kind of useful because they can't come for you, basically. Yeah. And they're not really functioning as a team. Like, the only way they could maybe come after you is if they make a tribunal. And, like, they're not performing in a capacity that would suggest that they're going to make a tribunal. So he doesn't want to call her out. And also, he gives her credit for saying that Amanda had been critical of Cara for years now, and now he's seeing the light. And I should add that Amanda, if you don't follow Amanda on Twitter, listeners, you should. She said last night that they edited out Zach coming up to her and apologizing for not having her back and protecting Cara last season.
Wow.
And then, yeah.
I totally missed that. That's pretty good.
She said more, but we'll come to that. I'll return to that tweet. So yeah, basically, they game plan for who they might call out. Both teams suggest that they might go after Wes.
Okay.
And that's just noteworthy. Just a little foreshadowing. So then we have the actual killing floor scene. And Cara has the first vote, and she goes full Johnny Bananas and goes on this really long speech about fake friends and about how Zach hates seeing a healthy relationship in the house because his is so messed up, and that the way he speaks to all women is unacceptable. And then Jenna, to her credit, because, like, one of the nice things that slowly happened over the course of her reality TV career is that Jenna has really found her voice and become an assertive person.
I agree with that.
And because, like, the first season we saw her on was Real World Explosion, I guess, or Skeletons, where she was dating that loser Jay, yes. And he would just walk all over her.
I forgot about that dude.
We've seen Jenna stick up for herself more and more, and she interrupts Cara and says, hold on there. Zach, yes, he can be disrespectful, but he speaks his mind. Like, everyone know where he stands with them, and there are plenty of women who like him. And in fairness, earlier this episode, Zahida and Maddie, when they were talking, Zahida says, Zach is the best partner I could ask for. Like, yeah. Zahida, his partner, likes him and respects him. And is like, it's shitty that we're caught up in this drama, but I don't blame Zach.
I also just like how Janice was like she made the point of saying, it's not that he doesn't, like, stop making this a woman thing. He just doesn't like you, right?
Yeah.
And he makes that known. Like, he just doesn't, oh, sorry. She didn't say that he doesn't like you. She just said, if he doesn't like you, he makes that known. And I think that's more so, again, about Kyle, more so than more so about Paulie than it is about Cara, right? And that, I think, was the more important part that Jenna brought up, was just stop trying to make this some, like, Zach degrading women thing. He just makes it known who he doesn't like.
Also, if your vote is based off of degrading women, at least in the recent past, Bear has degraded more women more aggressively, including you, Cara, to your face. Right? Like, if it's really about degrading women,
yeah,
Bear is a bigger target.
Yeah, that's fair. It's totally fair.
Cara votes for Zach after that long speech. Theo votes for Jenna and Gus because he refuses to vote for Zahida, his fellow Brit. Nani votes for Bear and Davon. Turbo votes for Bear and Davon because they don't like how he's been behaving. Paulie votes for Zach and Zahida. Then it comes down to Ninja, who, for the sake of the bigger picture and for her team's long-term health, votes for Zach and Zahida. What did you think of that? I feel like you are going to have thoughts.
So here, I don't know, man. I found this very tough, and I enjoyed it so much because I don't know what the right answer is. Do you know? Like, I know that's a cop-out. But who would you pick to go in? Like, honestly, though, if you're Zach and Zahida, what is the right move?
No, I mean, Ninja, because Ninja was saying that she wanted to vote in Bear and Davon.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
No problem. But strategically, for her team's longevity, she voted for Zach and Zahida, and that's why Zach and Zahida go in.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying before. I don't think that's the right move because the longevity of your team, okay, at some point, and maybe it wasn't going to happen, but at some point they all should have sat down and realized that they're stronger together. And while they were picking each other off, because literally they've been going week after week, taking shots at each other, while all of the Brits are just sitting back and getting even more stronger. So I don't know if it was past the point of no return, but I feel like if you're still in the house, there's always a chance that you can reconcile and flip the game. So I don't think that it was the right move by Ninja, but I understand why she did it. Because obviously Paulie and Cara clearly appear to be running the game right now and making the calls.
Well, I think that part of what's going on in Ninja's mind, when she says, like, our long-term success, I think she's thinking about keeping peace with Paulie.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair.
Rather than, like how the votes are going to shake out. Because Paulie is a maniac about Kyle.
Yeah. And maybe down the line, it's something where, hey, I went with your pick earlier, so now...
Yeah, now you have to listen to me.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So then, Zach and Zahida get to choose who they're going to go up against, and they have to deliberate. And where they left things off was, Zahida said, when we're down on the floor looking up at everyone, I'll know who I want. But she didn't really. She didn't really know who she wanted.
And also they would get a look at what the challenge might be.
Yeah, which is also smart, in fairness. Mm-hmm. And they... are sort of debating. The debate is between Zach wants to go for Bear and Davon. Zahida wants to go for Josh and Amanda. Amazingly, Zach refuses to go for Josh and Amanda. And instead, as compromise, they call out Wes and D.
Yeah.
And what people forget about Wes, because he hasn't been on the show for a while, what you young bucks listening, I don't mean Team Young Buck, but you young bucks listening don't realize, is that the big Johnny Bananas and Wes dichotomy, their rivalry, it's not just about how they form alliances and who they form alliances with and their personalities. It's that Johnny is good in competitions, but Wes is the fucking truth at eliminations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you count, Wes tweeted this, if you count champs versus pros, stars, whatever, going into this competition, he had 18 elimination wins. In just regular challenges, he has 13 In regular challenges, he has 13 elimination wins before going into tonight's episode. No other male competitor has hit double digits in wins in eliminations.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the other part about it, though, too, I think that Wes has, you have experiences, so that means you're not going to get nervous, you're not going to get buckled down under pressure, but also he's done a lot of different puzzles. And I know a puzzle is a puzzle is a puzzle, but at the same time, it's more so about not how difficult the puzzle is, but it's about how in your nerves are you going to be while trying to do the puzzle under pressure. And he's not fazed by that.
No. And to be real, Zach does not do well under pressure.
No. He does
right?
not. Which is why I thought it was a weird choice. Like, I think I can understand it gameplay-wise. Like, I understand that he doesn't trust Wes anyways. I think Zach understood the benefit of the Brit Alliance, and so he kind of understood that the numbers are on the Brit side, and so if Zahida doesn't go at the Brits, it benefits his game. Like, I understand what Zach was doing. So I give Zach credit in that instance for why he didn't do it. Now, with that said, it was just the wrong challenge to try to go at Wes, I think.
Yeah.
And that's where maybe he should have tried to talk his partner out of it and just say, hey, and we don't know what the full conversation was. We only see the edited conversation, right? But he should have said, most likely this is a puzzle, and Zach's probably really good at, or not Zach, Wes is really good at puzzles. This is also about teamwork. Wes is working really well with his teammate. So this was one where you got to think, I think they could have beaten Davon. They could have beaten Davon and Bear, but I also think that they would have beaten Amanda and Josh, because I don't think that their teamwork with both of those teams, I think they would have frazzled under pressure. Under pressure. That's not even a word. Fizzled under pressure? I don't know.
Frazzle, I mean, you can become frazzled. I knew what you meant. I actually don't know. I think that Amanda would be very dangerous in this competition. So,
I think Josh would mess it up.
Yeah, that's probably true. So, the competition is they have these two dark rooms, and both teams start, like, I don't know, I'd say it was 50 meters away.
Sure.
And they have to throw these switches to turn on the lights, and then sprint to the dark rooms. And inside the dark rooms are puzzles. And TJ then, whenever he feels like it, can turn the lights off, and someone has to sprint back and turn the light back on. And really, the difference in this competition was D. Because D, Wes and Zach were about the same speed running, but D was significantly faster than Zahida.
Question. Did they have to rotate each time who was running to flick the switch?
I think they did. It wasn't explicitly said, but I think they did because they switched between the men and the women every time, and the women always came out like against each other. Like there's never a man versus a woman race.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering about that.
But Dee also said that when it was dark in there, she was still working on the puzzle. Like she was just doing it by feel.
Okay.
And I guess she has decent night vision. But then she I think made the difference. The reason why I'm not so sure that Amanda and Josh would be a good matchup is because Amanda's a very fast runner. Like she's, especially in a sprint. Remember a couple seasons ago, they had that like sort of rugby one, and she just blew people away.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
And she's also very good at puzzles. You're right. I haven't seen Josh really compete, so I don't know how he does. So I'll trust your judgment. But I don't know. It's the veterans, the challenge veterans are so in each other, like in their heads, that they're making so many mistakes, right? Like Johnny Bananas freaking out and taking out Zach, and then Cara and to a lesser extent Paulie being so focused on taking out Kyle and also getting rid of a potential ally. Even Hunter taking out, like, sort of antagonizing Amanda when she was like, we could be working together. Like, what are you doing? And I think that part of the issue for the challenge vets is the people, aside from Wes, the people who are challenge vets have been at this now almost constantly for 2 years.
Well, one thing I think
they're mentally exhausted.
One thing I want to say about this particular challenge, though, is I think Zahida and Zach messed up because their game plan was just flawed. At one point, they mentioned that one of them was putting together one side and the other was putting together the other half, and that doesn't really make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, how does that make sense? Yeah. Because obviously, if I'm putting together one side, I might need one of the pieces that you have. And like it just didn't make sense in terms of a strategy. Mm-hmm. Whereas if Dee was way more focused on if she was more focused on putting the whole thing together and even working while she was still in the dark, and like someone took charge of the puzzle, that makes a lot more sense to me than having the two cooks in the kitchen at the same time.
Yeah.
But further to your point, though, you mentioned an Amanda tweet. I don't know if this was the one you were gonna read, so I apologize for it. But I do find it funny that she says, it's so funny, Bananas called out Zach because of Wes, and Zach called out Wes because of Cara. I love all my enemies fighting while I stay safe. It's awesome. Suckers. Self-destruct.
Well, the tweet I was going to get into was, it's a long tweet, but after she said about Zach apologizing to her, she also said, after he got eliminated, when he was saying bye to everyone, he told me, raise fucking hell. Even though we still hate each other, I'm glad he finally realized.
I wonder why they didn't show the scene of them reconciling. I wonder. Not enough drama surrounding the two of them, I guess. I don't know.
I think that to move the plot forward, they had to focus on Kyle and Paulie jaw-jacking each other and That's talking fair. Shit.
That's fair. Well, yeah. I mean, people know, I think, that we are firmly Team Amanda. Like, Amanda is just hilarious to me. I might not agree with everything she says. I might think that, she crosses the line a lot. But she's entertaining to me. I find her funny.
Yeah, I'm with you. What was your quote of the episode?
We kind of touched on it earlier, but it was Zach for sure. Zach, when talking about Cara, and said that her boyfriend is fucking her for followers. I just think the term "fucking her for followers" is pretty good. That made me laugh. I'll let you go because I had another one, but it might be yours, so I don't want to ruin it. If it is, because I don't know what yours is.
That was going to be mine.
Oh,
you already fucked me on that, but
I'm sorry, and I was trying to be considerate too.
No, it's okay. I will say though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a shout out to a longtime listener and subscriber to You Killed It, and my friend from grade 4, 5, and 6, D. Pinsoff, who pointed out that we missed what actually was the line of the episode last week, which was when CT was going into the elimination, Bear said, "Welcome to the challenge," to CT, and Zach said, "Did you just welcome Chris to the challenge?" Chris being CT's actual birth name. So I'm going to pull, that's my one because you just used the one that I wanted. So,
well, the other
thanks,
one,
Sheldon.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Well, the other one that I was going to say, and I guess I should have said because I stole yours, was Davon's term of disredamnspectful. Or sorry, yes. Disredamnspectful? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Disredamnspectful. I'm telling you, Disredamnspectful is obviously going to be the title of this episode. Because, like, come on. I always look forward, so, like, a little peek behind the You Killed It scenes. I'm the one that names the episodes. Usually off of some... obviously, I mean, sometimes we talk about it, but it's usually the quote of the week or, like, something funny that we said, which is, I mean, we're hilarious, Sheldon. So there's lots to choose from. But as soon as I saw or heard the Disredamnspectful, I was like, well, please. Obviously, that's such a You Killed It title that, I mean, that's a slam dunk.
Too obvious. There's one other thing I wanted to point out, too. You kind of touched on it earlier, but Jenna...
Sorry, Sheldon, before you get going, I do want to say that it had occurred to me that I could have made the title for last week's episode, "This is how we do in Essex," which I thought about doing, and that for the rest of this season I could just do like "This is how we do in Kansas City" for Wes, like "This is how we do in Michigan" for Zach, and just like do it. No. But I thought that would get old.
Yes, so. It definitely would. Definitely.
Sorry, you were going to say about Jenna.
No, I was just gonna say, I wonder, because there was a point in time where I might have been tired of the Zach and Jenna drama, right?
Yeah.
Might have been a point in time where I was right there. And somehow that has flipped, and I'm like, I was fine with them. And maybe part of it is Zach came back, and Zach had a very different season than he had prior, where he definitely lessened his tone with Jenna. Like, he wasn't as much of a dick to Jenna. He also treated his partner with a lot more respect this season. So maybe Zach, karma points, because we were talking about why they made the pick, and should he have listened to Zahida and all that. But I feel like the karma points of listening to his partner might have been more needed for Zach in this situation. And the reason why I bring up Jenna was because Jenna tweeted out, she was talking about her, it was basically like, for all those people wondering about Zach and I's relationship, which it just makes me think of Paulie and Cara, right? Like, is there a chance that they end up in this point? Because I don't want to hear anything from them ever right now. But Jenna says, why can't I find it now that I'm actually looking for it? Funny how that works, right? Works like that all the time. But essentially she says, do Zach and I have the perfect relationship? No, of course not. But talk to us in 4 years and see wherever your relationship is. And sorry, here it is. Me and Zach don't act like we're this picture perfect couple. Talk to us 4 years ago, and yeah, we were. But life happens, drama happens, TV happens. I'm just thankful to be a strong enough couple to get through it. In case you're wondering, we're doing great. So mind your beeswax. You said it earlier. Jenna has really found her her comfort in being on TV, right? Because you need to find who you are, but who you are on TV. Those are two different things, if that makes sense, right? Because the line of what's real and what's not is easily blurred and easily misconstrued. And so to find that balance to where, okay, well, this is just stupid TV stuff, as opposed to, no, this is our real life and relationship. That balance, I feel like they've done a much better job of. And I'm interested to see how Jenna does without Zach.
Yeah, me too. Who killed it for you this week?
This is a weird pick, but Da'Vonne killed it for me. And the reason why I'm picking Da'Vonne is because she did such a good job in not blowing up. And by not blowing up, I think she probably saved them from going in. Because she could have made this situation so much worse, and she didn't. And it had to be so difficult to deal with Bear. But even if you go back to when the votes were going in and he starts popping off and she's like, calm down. Like, even in that, and I know that might not be as great of a job as whoever won the challenge did, but I'm tired of Paulie and Cara, so I'm not going to give them credit. Shouts to Wes for winning the challenge, for winning the elimination, but I just think Da'Vonne, what she had to go through in this episode, I'm going to give it to her. And also, she just does a great job in confessionals, and I'm always here for that.
I think I'm going with a little. I agree with you. It's a tough week to name a winner, an MVP, but I'm going to go with Amanda because she is being. First of all, she's learned the lesson of keeping your mouth shut and staying off people's radar. It seems, but also, she's sort of been vindicated in a lot of what she said. Right. Like she is successfully getting across that she was right about Cara. She was and like Zach apologized to her. She's looking good, and also she's doing this without any allies, without any of her traditional allies. Right? Like, so she is really onto an island herself. And she's surviving and thriving. And she didn't have a ton of speaking roles on this episode, but she's still very much a presence. And, hopefully at some point, Bear looks back at how he behaved on this episode and thinks, oh shit, like, I'm an asshole. Like, but I think that Amanda can look back at how she performed this season and say, like, no, like, I did that right. You know what I mean? Like, no, she can take pride in how she's acting. We have to give, there's a lot of people who, like, had minor roles who did well. I think Dee had a great episode. I think that, and Wes said as much in his confessionals, that she really did well in Tired Out, and they would have been like 4th or 5th in that competition. She, I think, was instrumental in them winning that elimination. Wes looked good. There was like a lot of solid performances, but no one that really stood out for me this week. But I do think I'm going to tip my cap to Amanda.
No, that's cool. I'm not mad at that at all.
Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at J Chidley Hill because I like to keep it simple. And yeah, I guess that's all we have this week.
We should shout out the people though for riding with us and supporting the pod on SoundCloud and iTunes and liking and following and sharing with all the other challenge people, because it's really turned into a pretty cool community of people tweeting at us and following the podcast for sure. And yeah, it's just really cool. So shouts to all the people listening right now, whether you're on SoundCloud or iTunes. Thank you for liking and subscribing and rating or sharing and all that fun stuff. It's greatly appreciated. We really do appreciate it.
I really like all the... I mean, Twitter is where I probably do my most interacting with our listeners. And I really like just like the energy that people bring. Like there's a good sense of humor. I think people are respectful of each other that like listen to us, and I think that's really cool. Like it's nice to see. So yeah, keep it up, guys. We appreciate it.
For sure, totally.
Until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed